The breeze of the sand carried the scent of rain and old cobblestone as you stood quietly on Pond's arms, staring out at the water glistening under the Parisian twilight. All around you, lovers stood by the bridge's railings, attaching locks to the metal grates with whispered promises. Laughter drifted into the air, locks clicked shut. You tighten your hand around the cold metal in your pocket. A simple, unmarked lock, no initials, no date, just you. After 7 long years of grieving, crying yourself to sleep, waking up hoping the nightmare was over, this trip was your attempt to let go. You had told yourself you wouldn't cry here, but the sight of so many happy couples gnawed at your heart. You exhaled shakily and stepped toward the railing, but the sound of heavy footsteps behind you snapped you from your thoughts, and before you could move, a solid weight bumped into you from behind, jolting you forward. You gasped, stumbling dangerously close to the edge. Hey, whoa. A firm grip circled your waist and steadied you in place. Your breath caught in your throat as you turned sharply, meeting the gaze of a stranger. Golden blonde hair fell lazily over his brow, slightly damp from the misty air. His eyes, rich dark brown with flecks of warmth, studied you with an expression of genuine concern. An eyebrow piercing caught the faint glow of the bridge light. You blinked, stunned, unsure whether it was the fall or his sudden presence that left you speechless. I'm so sorry, he murmured, stepping back with his hands raised, a soft smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. I wasn't watching where I was going. Are you all right? You nodded stiffly, brushing imaginary dust off your coat. I'm fine. Good, I swear this city has too many distractions. His lips curved into a playful grin, and I seemed to find all of them. You gave him a wary glance. I wasn't watching either. His eyes flicked to the lock in your head. You weren't about to attach that, were you? You hesitated, suddenly self conscious. It's not what you think. He tilted his head, a soft curiosity replacing the teasing edge. No judgment here. Silence settled between you as the soft ripples of the river filled the air. Then casually he extended his hand. I'm Jungkook. You hesitated a beat before offering yours. His palm was warm against yours. I'm just visiting. A glint of mischief flickered in his eyes. Ah, the mysterious kind. Very Parisian of you. You chuckled despite yourself, the weight in your chest easing slightly. Hardly. Jungkook stepped back, slipping his hands casually into the pockets of his long coat. His gaze lingered on you, not in a way that felt invasive, but as if he was quietly memorizing the details of this fleeting encounter. Well, then, just visiting. He drawled slowly. I have a feeling we'll cross paths again. You shook your head lightly. Paris has 8 million people, and yet here we are. The corners of your lips lifted into the faintest of smiles. With a final small wave, he disappeared into the soft lit crowd, leaving you staring after him, unsettled but oddly comforted. Later at night, you wandered the streets under the soft yellow glow of the Parisian street lamps. Your footsteps echoed gently off the wet pavement. Why were you thinking about him? A stranger? You sighed. You had promised yourself no attachments. Not this trip. Not ever again. You decided not to fall in love with anyone ever again. The next afternoon, you stood inside the vast marble halls of the museum studying a worn map. Lost? You spun around only to see Jungkook standing there, scarf loosely knotted around his neck, sunglasses dangling casually from his fingers, a barely restrained smile curling his lips. Your jaw dropped slightly. You again? He chuckled. Seems like fate has a sense of humor. You stare at him, both irritated and intrigued. Don't tell me you are following me. Would you believe me if I said no? He teased. I came for art. I stayed for the coincidence. You sighed but couldn't stop your lips from twitching upward. Touring alone? I could say the same for you. You fell into steps behind him, your pace unhurried as the two of you wandered silently past paintings and sculptures. The conversation between you flowed unexpectedly easily, soft, light, as if neither of you wanted to acknowledge the pull growing quietly in the spaces between your words. Days passed, and somehow the city kept throwing him into your path. He stood behind you at the crepe stall, waving casually as you blinked in disbelief. At a quiet cafe, he slipped into the chair across from you without asking. Sipping an espresso, you rolled your eyes. Now I'm fully sure that you are following me. He chuckled. Or maybe we both have similar tastes when visiting places. Either way, it's not that bad. You rolled your eyes, fighting a grin. Maybe we are cursed. I prefer the word fated. He leaned forward, resting his chin in his hand. I like seeing you smile. Your heart faltered for a beat. You didn't respond. Instead, you stared at the river, trying to ignore the sudden, unexpected warmth blooming inside you. The afternoon sun filtered through the tangled canopy above as you and Jungkook strolled down the quiet trail leading to the edge of the cliff. The ocean stretched beneath like an endless canvas, every wave crashing below, mirroring the calm. I swear, Jungkook said, chuckling as he motioned toward the weather-beaten tree by the trail. I once climbed that exact thing, trying to impress someone, got stuck up there for 2 hours, had to rescued by a guy half my size. You burst into laughter, the sound carried off by the wind. No way. He nodded solemnly, then grinned. Yeah, don't underestimate how far a bruised ego can fall, literally. For the first time in years, your laugh had come freely. It was strange how he made it happen so effortlessly. No pressure, no probing, just being there. I knew this place would work. Jungkook said, looking at the waves. Something about the ocean makes things feel smaller, even pain, even past. You glanced at him, hearing more in his voice than he probably meant to say. Is that why you brought me here? You thought I was going through heartbreak? He turned toward you slowly, not dodging the question. Well, grown adults don't usually book last minute solo trip to tour the world unless they are trying to escape something or someone. Your smile vanished, but there was no denial in your eyes. And what about you? Who broke your heart? Jungkook exhaled with a faint smile. No one yet. Haven't found someone worth giving that power to, but maybe soon. You looked at him. For a brief moment, something passed between you both. Understanding, vulnerability, maybe even trust. He was a complete stranger you met in Paris, and now you're touring the world with him. This was not something you would do, but it didn't feel bad. And before you could stop yourself, you said it, quietly like the words had waited too long to be said aloud. My husband died 7 years ago. Jungkook's expression shifted. I was in Korea at the time. You continued, voice steady but far away. He was traveling abroad to Paris, business trip. Plane crash. They found his body burned, barely recognizable. I only got to see what was left. There was silence. 7 years? Jungkook echoed, not out of doubt, but something softer. You have carried that alone all this time? You gave a faint nod. I stopped waiting for it to get better, started living around the grief. Jungkook didn't say anything. He didn't offer a sorry or a pitying gaze. He just walked beside you, keeping your silence safe between his steps. You both reached the viewing deck at the cliff's edge. The wind tugged at your hair as the sea below shimmered, gold and navy in the light. Do you come here often? You asked, voice still fragile from what you had shared. Yeah, Every time I need to remember that the world keeps going no matter what we lose. You were about to smile at that until you saw him. Your body turned to ice, your breath hitched in your throat. There, standing beside a group near the tourist map, was a man with a camera slung around his neck, laughing softly, a face you had memorized, a face you had buried 7 years ago. Your mouth parted, your knees weakened as your heart thudded painfully inside your chest. Jungkook, noticing your sudden stillness, reached for your arm. Hey, are you okay? You couldn't speak, you couldn't breathe, because the man who was supposed to be dead was standing just a few feet away. David? A whisper came from your mouth. You couldn't believe your eyes at first, but took a step forward to reach him. But then two small children ran to him, wrapping around his legs. He lifted them both with ease, chuckling, and then she appeared. Her, his best friend, the woman he always insisted was just like sister. She came up behind them, smiling, her hand brushing the man's arm. Your heart dropped. Wyan? Jungkook's voice was gentle beside you, but you didn't respond. Your legs had already started moving. You walked fast toward them. Jungkook followed close behind, eyes scanning your face, confused. Wyan, what is it? You stopped just before the group turned a corner out of sight. The children clung to the man as he bent down. Then a black car pulled up. They all got in and gone. You stood frozen. Wyan. Jungkook grabbed your wrist lightly. Are you okay? Your voice trembled. That was my husband. Jungkook's brows furrowed. Wait, what? That was him. I saw his face, Jungkook, and her. That was her, his best friend. They are together. They have kids. Oh my god. Are you sure? Maybe your mind is playing tricks. You have been thinking about him a lot lately and grief can. No. You shook your head with force. No, I know what I saw. I recognized him. I know how he walks, how he lifts his head when he laughs. I saw her too, Jungkook. That was them. You looked at him desperately. Please, I need to know. I need to follow them. He didn't hesitate. Let's go. You both got into the car and followed the route the vehicle had taken. Jungkook driving with calm urgency as you described what you had seen. Your heart pounded in your chest, hands clammy in your lap. You spotted the black SUV parked outside a hotel. There, you pointed, your voice barely above a whisper. The two of you parked nearby, your mind was spinning. 7 years of mourning, confusion, pain, about to unravel. Jungkook walked beside you, silent but alert. He didn't try to stop you. He knew better. Inside the hotel, you spotted them entering the lounge near the restaurant. He looked so normal, so alive, laughing, as if the life he left behind never existed. And then your eyes met. His laughter died. He froze, holding the hand of one of the children, and for a second, the world spun. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Maybe you were the ghost to him now. You stepped forward, voice trembling, pain rising like a storm inside you. You? His so called best friend stepped forward, nervously standing between you both. I think there's a mistake. You need to leave. You let me bury you. You whispered, your voice cracking. You let me mourn you for years. He didn't say anything. His mouth opened, then closed. His eyes shifted around, nervous, calculating. Then his voice came cold and clear. I don't know who you are. You're disturbing my family. You blinked. What? Security? He called, turning away like you were nothing. Two hotel security men appeared. Ma'am, we'll have to ask you to leave. You stood frozen, your eyes wide, your lips parting in disbelief. Are you seriously doing this after everything? The taller guard reached for your arm. Jungkook stepped forward like a storm in human form. Don't, he said, his voice sharp like a blade. Even think about laying a finger on her. The security man paused and then stiffened, straightened, as if they suddenly recognized who they were dealing with. John Jungkook. The name alone made people fall silent in rooms. CEO, powerful and untouchable. The guards backed off immediately. You walked straight to David, who once vowed to love you till death. Your voice broke as you said, so this is what you were doing all along? Living a second life? Faking your death? Building a family with her? He looked away, jaw tight. Jenna tried to say something, but you raised your hand to stop her. I buried you with my own hands, you whispered. Do you even understand what you did to me? David turned slightly and muttered, You shouldn't have come here. And you should have stayed dead. Jungkook placed a hand lightly on your back, steadying you. Let's go. He whispered, but your eyes were still on him, who used to be your world. He wasn't the same anymore. He was someone else's now, and yet your heart was still trying to understand why. You looked at the kids, who looked afraid, so you wiped your tears and walked away. You didn't want to see his face, didn't want to know more. He was dead for you and will forever be. You avoided Jungkook for 2 days. You couldn't face him, you couldn't even face yourself. Betrayal, disgust, grief, confusion. It consumed you all over again. Jungkook's texts kept coming. Angel, where are you? Please let me be there for you. You are not alone. Please talk to me. I'm outside your hotel. I won't leave until I see you. Finally, you told him about the hotel room you were staying in. You opened the door, face swollen from crying. He pulled you into a fierce hug without a word. I'm a mess, you whispered. It's okay, you are a human. You cried your heart out because his arms felt like comfort. I'm done. I can't keep chasing someone who doesn't want me to find him. He nodded slowly, brushing a kiss to your hair. Then let him go. Let me hold you now. You both came back to Paris again as your last stop of this trip. The soft breeze of Paris kissed your cheeks as the shine shimmered under the silver moonlight. The Pont des Arts bridge glowed in the night, couples passing by with laughter, promises, and hopes hanging on padlocks, dreams sealed forever in metal and water. You stood still, trembling slightly as you held the lock in your fingers. The same bridge, the same city, but this time everything inside you felt different. Your eyes welled up. This time, you whispered, your voice fragile but sure. I'm locking away my past. Jungkook's hand came to rest gently on your back. You felt his warmth, his presence, his silent strength. He looked at you, eyes soft, a quiet smile on his lips. Good, he said after a beat, because I was hoping to ask if I could be part of your future. You turned your head sharply. What? He chuckled lightly, rubbing the back of his neck. I never told you, did I? You blinked, unsure of what was coming. I'm not just a traveler who stumbled into Paris. I'm John Jungkook, CEO of John Enterprises. I came here to take a break from everything. I wanted clarity. I needed space. And then he looked at you, something reverent and almost sacred in his gaze. I met you. Your breath caught. You are that Jungkook? You asked, stunned. The one who. He nodded before you could finish. Yeah, that one. You looked away shocked, but he stepped closer, fingers gently brushing your arm. Does it change anything? He asked quietly. You met his gaze. No, it makes sense, actually. You once asked me if I'd ever had my heart broken, and I told you no, that I never let anyone close enough to do it. You nodded slowly. You remembered that night well. But the truth is, he looked at you now. The moment I saw you, I knew I would be heartbroken for life if I didn't make you mine. You froze. His confession didn't sound like a fairy tale. It wasn't rehearsed or perfect. It was raw, human, and struck something inside you. He smiled sadly, like someone who had waited a long time to say this. I used to believe it was better not to feel too much, to stay guarded, to protect myself, but you? He took a step closer. You made me feel things I didn't even know I was capable of. Tears stung your eyes before you could stop them. There's no point in living in the past, he said quietly, and definitely not for someone who didn't see your worth. His hand gently cupped your cheek, not when you have your whole future waiting in front of you. You looked at him, eyes full of disbelief and unspoken ache. Why me? I'm not the easiest person to love. He chuckled softly. Exactly, you are not easy. You are real, strong, a little chaotic, but you feel everything so deeply. You carry the weight of people you shouldn't and still manage to smile. You let out a teary laugh, wiping at your eyes with the back of your hand. Jungkook stepped even closer now, standing toe to toe with you under the Paris sky. You deserve a love that chooses you every day, not just when it's easy, and I want to be that love. He whispered, if you let me. You looked down at the lock in your hand, engraved with your initials and the date. You blinked, heart thundering, then looked back at him. I would like that too. You breathed, voice thick with emotion. Hand in hand, you both clicked the lock onto the metal rail. Its click sounding like a final goodbye to the pain that had followed you for years. Without a word, you tossed the key into the Seine. It sparkled once under the moonlight before disappearing into the depths. You turned toward him. He reached out, brushing your hair behind your ear, his eyes warm and certain. You ready? He asked. For what? For the rest of your life. You laughed through your tears and nodded. And together, hand in hand, you walked away from the bridge, leaving behind every old wound, every ghost that ever haunted you. The dazzling city lights stretched ahead. For the first time in 7 years, you finally moved forward with him.